What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Link Light here with another episode of Shiny Cardboard Chronicles. And if you're new here on Shiny Cardboard Chronicles, we cover, of course, shiny cardboard because who doesn't love shiny cardboard? I love shiny cardboard, and you love shiny cardboard too. And on top of that, as well as the shiny cardboard, we cover the artists who give us such incredible shiny cardboard, the PSA 10 pops, as well as the prices of those PSA 10 cards. Our first shiny cardboard is this Kabutops, and that was illustrated by Ken Sugimori. The description says its sleek shape is perfect for swimming. It slashes prey with its claws and drains the body fluids. Again, Pokemon wasn't as PG as we thought, but most of us were not reading the descriptions of the Pokemon cards back then. The PSA 10 pop count of this card is 226. Again, the PSA 10 pop count is 226, and that is out of 3,885. And if you're looking to get this card in the PSA 10, it'll cost you about 600. Not too expensive for an OG Pokemon card, but a little more on the price side. This really matters where your price range is, but if you compare it to the base set PSA 10s, this is a lot cheaper than those cards. If you're looking to get this card in a regular hollow PSA 10, there is currently 44 in a regular hollow PSA 10, and that is out of 4,657. And the price of that PSA 10 card is $450. So it's about a 200 or so difference to get this card in a first edition PSA 10 to a regular hollow PSA 10. If you've ever played Pokemon Red or Blue or even Yellow, you know how popular this Pokemon is. I use this Pokemon all the time for surf and for traveling on the water. The description of this Pokemon card says, a Pokemon that has been overhunted almost to extinction. It can ferry people across water. And like I said, you have to use this Pokemon to surf. It's a very popular Pokemon. Very popular to this day. A lot of people really love Lapras. I think they still make in the summertime, they make like Lapras slushies for pools and things like that. So again, a Pokemon that will probably never go out of style. And the artist who gave us this artwork is none other than Ken Sugimori. In first edition of PSA 10, there is currently 119. Again, in first edition of PSA 10, there is currently 119, and that is out of 4,072 entries. And if you're looking to get this card, it's up there in the range of the Dragonite that we covered in the last episode. This will cost you about 3K to get this card in a first edition of PSA 10. Now for the regular hollow PSA 10, there is currently 47. Again, in regular hollow PSA 10, there is currently 47, and that is out of 8,981. And if you're looking to get this card in a regular hollow PSA 10, it'll cost you about $600. Still a pricey card, but well worth it if you are a collector of Pokemon. Our next card is another Magneton Shiny Cardboard. If you remember, the first ever Magneton Pokemon card release was in the Pokemon base set, the first ever Pokemon set ever released. This Magneton was illustrated by Ken Sugimori. I believe the last one was illustrated by, I'm not even going to try to say the artist's name, but this one is illustrated by Ken Sugimori. The description of this Pokemon says, formed by several magnemites linked together, they frequently appear when, what does it say? Sunspots flare up. I believe that's kind of the same thing that the last card says, so nothing different on that. We already kind of know if you're a Pokemon a fan how magnetons are made. In a PSA 10 first edition, there is currently 400 of this card. Again, in the first edition of PSA 10, there is currently 400 of this card. That is out of 3,572. And if you're looking to get this card in a first edition of PSA 10, it'll cost you about $350. Now, for a regular hollow PSA 10, there is currently 163. Again, in regular hollow PSA 10, there is currently 163. That is out of 4,450. And if you're looking to get this card added to your collection, it'll cost you about $200 to get this card in a regular hollow PSA 10. Even though Pikachu is the most popular Pokemon of all time, its evolution, Raichu, is not so popular. And this is also another shiny cardboard hollow because the first Raichu ever released was in the Pokemon base set. That card was illustrated by Ken Sugimori. This Raichu was illustrated by Mitsuhiro Arita. And the description is the same as the base Raichu, but I'll read it as well. It says its long tail serves as a ground to protect itself from its own high voltage power. If you're looking to get this card in a PSA 10, there is currently only 170, so it has a very low PSA 10 count number, and that is out of 3,845. And if you're looking to get this card in a PSA 10 first edition, it'll cost you about $900. Now, if you want to get this card in a PSA 10 regular hollow, there is currently only 47. Again, in a PSA 10 regular hollow, there is currently 47, and that is out of 5,065. You're looking about $500 to get this card in a regular hollow PSA 10. If you remember, there is three legendary birds, Articuno, Zapdos, and now we have Moltres. The description of this card says, known as the legendary bird of fire, every flap of its wings creates a dazzling flash of flames. The artist who gave us this Moltres artwork is Mitsuhiro Arita. Now, as far as first edition of PSA 10 goes, there was 313. Again, in a first edition of PSA 10, there is currently 313, and that is out of 4,286. And if you're looking to get this card in a first edition PSA 10, it'll cost you about $850. Now, on the other hand, for a regular hollow PSA 10, there is currently 95. One more time. Regular hollow PSA 10 count is currently 95, and that is out of 5,945. And that'll cost you about $350 to get this Moltres in a regular hollow PSA 10. Maybe one of the most disgustingest Pokemon ever created by Pokemon is this Muck. The description of this Pokemon says, thickly covered with a filthy, vile sludge. It's so toxic, even its footprints contain poison. The artist who gave us this Muck Pokemon card is none other than Mitsuhiro Arita. In a first edition of PSA 10, the pop count is 483. Again, in first edition of PSA 10, the pop count is 483, and that is out of 2,967. If you're looking to get this card in a first edition PSA 10, it'll cost you about $400 or so to get this card in a first edition of PSA 10. For the regular hollow PSA 10 version of this card, in PSA 10 regular hollow, there is currently only 262. Again, it is 262 of this card in a regular hollow PSA 10, and that is out of 6,319. If you're looking to get this card in a regular hollow PSA 10, it'll cost you about $200 to $250 to get this card. The last shiny cardboard on today's episode is this Zapdos card, and this Zapdos artwork is sometimes forgot about. People know about the base set Zapdos artwork. Myself, I kind of forgot about this other Zapdos artwork. It kind of gets lost since it's not the base set Zapdos. But the artist who gave us the Zapdos, the second Zapdos artwork, is none other than Mitsuhiro Arita. Again, a legend in the Pokemon artwork world. And a first edition of PSA 10, there is currently 373 of this card in a first edition PSA 10. Again, that is 373. That is out of 4,180. And if you're looking to get this card added to your collection, another first edition of PSA 10, that'll cost you about $600 or so dollars. Now, for the regular hollow PSA 10 count, there is only 121. Yeah, you heard that right. In regular hollow PSA 10, there is currently only 121. And that is out of 4,413. And if you're looking to get this card in a regular hollow PSA 10, it'll cost you about $300. So it's about half the price of getting this card in the regular Hollow PSA 10. Well, there you have it. Another episode of Shiny Cardboard Chronicles comes to an end, but stay tuned on the next episode of Shiny Cardboard Chronicles where we cover one of the most popular sets ever released in Pokemon, Team Rocket. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.